when I get to heaven, I'm gonna look around that world.
So here we are on Stranded, the Australian-Canadian Music Show, and very special guest, Dalannah Gail Bowen, who is performing this weekend at the Folk Festival. Hello, Dalannah.
Hello, Matt. How are you today?
Excellent.
Good. Thank you for this time.
Yes, I'm really glad to finally contact you. It's been a while. I've been aware of you. I've seen you perform around town, and I've had the CD for much of this year, so this is fantastic.
Wonderful.
Anyone who's familiar with the show knows that I'm a history buff, and I'm going to come right out with it and say, Winnipeg, 1963 to 65, what was in the water? What an amazing place it must have been.
Well, you know, when you live in a place that goes to 40 below, we tend to focus on things that we can manage inside. And so a lot of wonderful musicians came out of Winnipeg, for sure.
Yeah. And that exact period where, so 63, 65, I mean, of course we know Randy Bachman, Neil Young.
Yep.
If you don't mind, I'm actually going to list some people. The Neil Young biography that came out last year, he talks a lot about the bands that were playing around at that time. And I just want to name some names to see if they ring any bells. So, for instance, the gentleman in the Squires, Jack Harper or Alan Bates or Ken Coblin. The band called
Squires, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, the Squires.
Yeah.
The Galaxies, did that band ring any bells?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Silvertones, Alan Coble, Bob Ashley, Jimmy Cale, Doug Campbell.
Jim Cale was my boyfriend at one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We had just to share a little story, the first band that I was in was called The Feminine Touch out of Winnipeg. And it was 4 girls. And the owner of the Hungry Eye, Frank Weiner, was our manager. And we opened for the Monkees there, and then we went on the road. But we had a band house, and so Donnie McDougall, Burton, you know, our house was the band house where everybody came and jammed and everything. Yeah, so a lot of that, those names, well, we really got to know because, of course, there was a circuit. There was the Pink Panther, the Hungry Eye, which I mentioned, and a couple of other clubs that I can't recall the names of right now. But there certainly was a good little circuit, as well as community centers that we played at. Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds like such a hotbed.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And actually funny, it's just popped into my head now. I was going to ask you later on about the positive message you have in your latest CD about masculinity and honouring the men in your life. And thinking about back then, even though you were part of an all-female band, it sounds like right at the start you had positive men in your life as well.
Well, I did. You know, I mean, back then, there wasn't that many female musicians across Canada, not in the rock and pop world. I mean, I think Susan Jacks with Terry Jacks, there wasn't that many. There really wasn't that many female musicians. And you know, I think for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else, but I really wanted to soak it up. So I hung out with the boys, right?
And do you have still any connections with that community to this day? Or?
Oh, I certainly do. Well, for sure with Burton, I am connected to Burton, and Randy Bachman has played my Blues for Christmas show for many years. But he's moved to Toronto now, so we'll see what happens this year. And then another interesting story, the band that I was with after the Feminine Touch was called Expedition to Earth, and they tracked me down. And last summer, we had a reunion.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so that was very cool. And our single, Expedition to Earth, is in high demand. I think it sells for $125 on a website. It's a collector's item now. So that was very funny and interesting to us all.
Wow. So that's something for me to look up.
It was described as garage punk of the day. Lots of feedback, etc.
Let's go forward in your life, and it's very well documented, the struggles that you've had post the initial period of heavy activity in music with addiction, and the downtown east side becoming a big part of your life in a positive way when things changed. Your name, Dalannah, it is a spiritual name that came to you at a certain period. Is that right?
When I was trying to get out of my addiction, when I was starting to see that, of course, that lifestyle just wasn't working, and that I wanted to change. One night I woke up and I was writing down this name, trying to figure out what it was and all that kind of stuff, and I just put it in my drawer in my bedside table. And when I had the stroke and was under, it was a clear message that I should take that name, and that's how that happened. And so then one of my teachers, Harriet Nahaney, who is a Squamish elder, she's passed now, but she was one of my teachers, and she performed the naming ceremony.
What does Dalannah actually mean?
Oh my! It means love warrior.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, very, very perfect name for you, and what you do with the gift of music is
Thank you
very
so
much.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And an empowered female voice, and I just wanted to revisit that with Men. Your CD is called Them Men's, and it's the 2012 release, your second major release.
Yeah.
And it is so positive to read the liner notes where you explicitly say the CD is filled with music dedicated to the men who have been in my life, and it's very clear to me as a more sensitive male in this world, looking around, yes, we have a patriarchy. Yes, it's easy to denigrate the negative aspects of masculinity. Can you comment on how important it is to hold yourself in a place where you can speak of the positive attributes of masculinity?
Well, I think, I come from a blues background, and I think that we hear, and in any genre, we hear of love lost and all these kinds of things, and I just feel, and this is across the board in my life these days, my sensibilities have changed in the sense that I think that we need to focus on what is good in things rather than tearing things apart, because we all have something to learn. We all have challenges that we experience. But, excuse me, if we don't nurture the positive, all we are left with is this discouragement and the letdowns and all that sort of thing. And life has that in it, but that's not all there is. And certainly the other part is, I don't feel like women are better than men. I don't feel like men are better than women. I think we all have characteristics that are positive, and we all have things that we could work on. And so I just wanted to write a song about appreciating instead of the other.
And so that's the song Them Men's, the
Exactly.
title track. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And but of course, acknowledging you also have track there 6 Mean Man as well. So you do give the balanced perspective, I guess, too.
Right, right. Well,
Yeah.
and the other part is I have had lots of teachers in my life, especially in the music world, and to be honest, I don't know if I'd be where I am if I hadn't had men that taught me what they taught me.
Well, it is such a wonderful positive message and an album in its entirety.
Thank you.
And very much summed up in the final track, and you have the lyrics printed in the back, so Spirit Within. What can you tell us about that? Has it become a bit of a signature song for you? Or?
Well, it certainly reflects the way that I walk in this world these days, and my perspective on again, I can't speak for other people, but my perspective on and appreciation for how I got here, because I recognize that I could be dead, and that this second half of my life is a gift, and appreciating that from a spiritual perspective is really what that song is about.
Definitely, that's what I pick up, and the lyrics are wonderful and positive.
Thank you.
And also I noticed that some First Nation drumming which really sets the beautiful tone too.
Yes,
who,
it does.
who were those musicians?
Oh, though the drum group is called Oceanside Dakota, and they are a drum group here in Vancouver that sing at powwows and sundances. And I had heard them and was quite taken by the power of their playing and the drum and what it brings forth. And then the other thing is they had asked me to come and sing with them. They said they needed a wise woman in the group. So I have participated and been at their practices, but it's gotten to the point where I'm extremely busy, so I haven't been able to participate as much as I'd like. Having said that, however, I'm enjoying what is happening, so I have no complaints anywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. And their wonderful work is documented too on these tracks. Keeping the spirit of positivity alive, you are very well known for contributing countless hours to, days, years to social justice efforts. Keeping in mind that there are some Australian listeners, people who aren't really aware of the nuances of the downtown east side occurrences, I wonder if you could focus specifically on the Rainier Hotel. That's I think I saw you actually in the short documentary that was made.
Yes.
What was your involvement with the Rainier Hotel here in Vancouver?
Well, one of the things that happens, positive things that happens, is there are definitely some organizations who take hard to house women and men, who try to provide a setting where they can get support of a wide variety of kinds, whether it's acupuncture, whether it's healing circles, whether it's being in consultation with someone to help them just come back to themselves and get out of the addiction cycle that they are in. And the Portland Hotel Society is one of those organizations. And the Rainier was specifically a women's residence that provided those kinds of programs. And so women can go there. They'd have to come out of detox, but they could go there and they could live for a year or two and really get themselves on the right track. Because it's one thing to stop the addiction, but the other thing is how do we move forward in a good way? How do we maintain our daily lives without the drugs, right? And so there's lots of supportive programming that encourages that thinking and that movement to a better place within yourself. And so the Rainier provided that. Well, the BC Health Authority, in all their wisdom, decided, because they had to make some cuts, decided to cut the funding for most of the programming there.
And just to be clear, it is the only one, really, isn't it?
It is the only one.
Yeah.
It is the only one. And the success rate was huge. So, one of my questions always is, when I get involved with things that need to be challenged, whether it's about equality or health or justice, whatever that is what is the climate of this situation, and why do governments and whether it's civic, provincial, or federal bodies decide to cut programs? Well, there's a huge number of reasons, but in this specific case, it just was such a quandary for us because it was the most successful program in rehabilitating addicts in Vancouver, and they still cut it. So you wonder where the justification came from, and also what is their agenda if serving people and helping them to get better isn't part of the agenda, then why? Right? It's
very clear, and I couldn't help notice the timing as well, that the Robert Picton inquiry that came down at that almost the same week that happened.
That's exactly right.
I mean, it's just inexplicable.
That's inexplicable. And the thing is that that putting them back into risk factors, for example, I would say 50% of the women have relapsed.
Oh.
So, you know, it's just dumbfounding what they do. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
that's my personal opinion.
like you've actually met a lot of the residents there and
Oh,
spoken
yes.
to them. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely be able to share your experience, and which you will continue to. And even though this does seem like a fairly maybe dark period in BC history, we still have music is like flourishing like nothing before, I believe, here.
Yeah.
And this weekend is an example of that. And you are playing. Could you tell us a little bit about your band? You do have a real crack blues band behind you.
Thank you. I love my boys. You know, and some of them I've worked with for a very long time, and they've seen me through thick and thin. Even when I wasn't singing, when I decided to go back, they were right there for me. So I just love them. Michael Krieber is on keyboards, on piano, and he is a Grammy-nominated keyboardist who also arranges and works with lots of different people. But I just feel very fortunate that he's with me. And Brian Newcomb is on bass. He's in the BC Music Hall of Fame. He's played with David Foster and all people like that. Chris Norquist is everybody's favorite blues drummer, at least out west. And he plays at Montreux, you know, Jazz Festival. He's played all over the place. And he's very steady. And I've known Chris since I lived in Edmonton the first time, which was 72, 73.
Wow.
Yeah. Or maybe even earlier than that, 69.
Mm.
Yeah. And so he's played in different bands, but he finally moved out here, and he's just a great drummer. And on the CD, there's two different guitar players. There's Steve Dawson from Black Hand Music, who's a very brilliant guitar player, and Harris Van Berkel, who had played with me for many, many years, probably 20 years, 15 years. And he's gone on to other things, so I have a new guitar player, and his name is Curtis DeBray, and I'm very excited about him. He's a young man and very, very talented. So, yeah.
Wow.
So that's the boys.
That's the very crack blues band.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And so I guess we'll let you head off. You probably have some more practicing to do, but Dalannah, is there anything else you wanted to say about what people can expect at your show?
Sure. I think that, first of all, you know, I used to go to the folk festival all the time, and I'm very honored to have the opportunity to perform there this year. And I'm very excited about the performances because there's a variety of settings. So on Saturday, which is tomorrow, July the 20th, at 11:10 a.m., I perform with my blues band. But then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're having a workshop where we have singers in the round called Heal the Planet. And so some of the songs that I've written in regard to how we're devastating the environment, et cetera, I will be able to present those. And Martha Redbone, Roots Project, Jason Bernstick, and Kenny Starr. So that's going to be a fantastic workshop. And then on Sunday is the Raise Your Spirits Higher, which is kind of a gospel workshop. And that's at 10 in the morning on Sunday morning.
Oh, great.
So, and I really, you know, one of the things that's wonderful about festivals is that you get to experience music in a really safe and comfortable environment, and you get to take that experience with you. We all need experiences that enrich our lives, and certainly music festivals is one way to do that.
That's right.
So I encourage everybody, if you have the opportunity, to come to the Vancouver Folk Music Festival.
Well, thank you, Dalannah.
You're welcome, my dear.
Very excited to see you perform, and thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my dear.
Okay.
Okay, see you soon.
Thanks, Dalannah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You gotta slow down, slow down, slow down.